Hi guys, welcome to the screencast for tomorrow's lesson. So what we're going to be looking at is gaseous exchange. So firstly, we've looked at in the past, we've done the structure of the respiratory system with regards to the nasal cavity, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, into the alveoli in the lungs, etc. So we know the structure of it. We've also done the mechanics of breathing, so we actually are aware now of how we get air into the lungs. Why do we get air into the lungs? What's the reason for that? The reason for that is that we can get oxygen to the working muscles. So what we need to look at now is gaseous exchange. So we need to actually start to talk about what occurs within the alveoli when the oxygen's there. How does it get into the bloodstream? And that is gaseous exchange. So first of all, gaseous exchange takes place between the alveoli and the blood. So the alveoli in the lungs, and then the blood, the capillaries are wrapped around those alveoli, those thin, one cell thick capillaries where gases can actually exchange. That's what takes place. It's also known as external respiration. Just so you know that, you don't need to know that in too much detail, just know that it's called external respiration. So hopefully by the end of this screencast, or at least especially by the end of tomorrow's lesson, you're going to know. So where does it take place? The alveoli and blood. We're going to be discussing what are the gases involved and where do they move, why does oxygen diffuse, and why does carbon dioxide diffuse. So if we know that by the end of this screencasts, we're laughing for tomorrow's lesson, okay? It should be really good, and we've got the basics of what we need to know. This is a YouTube clip of gaseous exchange made really simply, okay? So this is a really useful clip for you to watch, actually. Even if you do understand it, it's quite good to see it visually. So I will attach this link here into the email that I send you with this screencast on. So first of all, these are going to be your first Cornell notes. Well, I say first, these are going to be your Cornell notes. You're also going to make some other notes as well. So these are your Cornell notes. This is what you need to get down. I've kind of done the questions for you. Which two gases exchange? So which gases are we actually going to be talking about within the lesson and the screencast? We're talking about oxygen and carbon dioxide. Obviously we need to get oxygen onto the working muscle, well, to the working muscles, so that we can actually have aerobic respiration. And we need to remove carbon dioxide, i.e. carbon dioxide is that waste product that gets produced during exercise, so we need to remove the carbon dioxide. We remove it by breathing it out. So where does gaseous exchange take place? Takes place between the alveoli and the blood. Partial pressure. So what is partial pressure? This is the pressure a gas exerts within a mixture of gases. Get that down. If it's quite hard for you to actually kind of remember that, I'll give us something quickly in class that will hopefully make that a lot easier to understand. So partial pressure is the pressure a gas exerts within a mixture of gases. Diffusion special rule. So all diffusion special rule is gases move from an area of high pressure to an area of low pressure. It makes sense really. If you've got something that there's loads of it in that one room and the other room's empty, they probably want to move from that room where it's really busy into a quieter, emptier room. So gases always move from an area of high pressure or high concentration to an area of low pressure or low concentration. Finally, diffusion gradient. This is the difference between high and low pressure of one gas, i.e. if there's 10 people in one room and there's 5 people in another room, the diffusion gradient between people would be 5. We just need to know that with regards to oxygen. So the amount of oxygen in the alveoli and the amount of oxygen in the blood, the difference creates a diffusion gradient. We do not need to know numbers. We don't care about numbers. You do not need to know that. You just need to know what diffusion gradient is. And it's a difference between high and low pressure of one gas. So the difference of one gas in two areas, i.e. alveoli and the blood. Just a quick recap on with regards to where the alveoli are and what they look like. So air comes rushing through the nasal cavity down the trachea, and then it splits into the right and left bronchi, into bronchioles, which are these kind of tree-like branches here, and at the end of these we have our alveoli. So here it's obviously zoomed in, so this is still your bronchiole, and now you have your alveoli, which are these air sacs. These air sacs are full of oxygen, and this is the blood, the capillaries that encase the alveoli, and this is where gaseous exchange takes place. So there's just a visualization for you, and gaseous exchange takes place between the alveoli and the blood. This is where it occurs. Right, okay, so gaseous exchange between the alveoli and the blood. We always do one gas at a time. Makes it really simple. and makes it easier for you guys to remember. So gas 1, we're going to be talking about oxygen. So what's the gas? The gas is oxygen. What's the area this takes place? The area is the alveoli and the blood. What's the special rule? The special rule is gases move from an area of high partial pressure to an area of low partial pressure. So after that, we've got to think partial pressure, and we have a high partial pressure of oxygen, because we're talking about oxygen. So we have a high partial pressure of oxygen in the alveoli, i.e. in the lungs, and we have a low partial pressure of oxygen in the blood. There's loads of oxygen in the alveoli, there is no oxygen in the blood. The reason the blood has gone back to the lungs is to get oxygen. So the partial pressure of oxygen within the alveoli is high, the partial pressure of oxygen within the blood is low. This is called an oxygen diffusion gradient, because again, we're talking about oxygen, so all we need to do is put oxygen there. This is called an oxygen diffusion gradient. Oxygen diffuses from alveoli to the blood, because we know this special rule, gases move from an area of high partial pressure to an area of low partial pressure. Therefore, if the partial pressure of oxygen is high in the alveoli and low in the blood, oxygen is going to diffuse from the alveoli to the blood. So that is the notes I want you to get down on oxygen. We do one gas at a time. So the next gas we're going to do is carbon dioxide, because we're always talking about two gases, oxygen and carbon dioxide. So gas 2, carbon dioxide. What's the gas? Carbon dioxide. Area, again, it's the alveoli and blood, doesn't change. The special rule, gases move from an area of high partial pressure to an area of low partial pressure. Partial pressure, well, we have a high partial pressure of carbon dioxide, because again, we're talking about carbon dioxide now. A high partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the blood, and we have a low partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the alveoli. I.e. the carbon dioxide is high in the blood is because it's come from the working muscles. At the working muscles, gaseous exchange has taken place. Oxygen has gone to the muscles, carbon dioxide has gone into the blood. That blood then has to go back to the heart, to the lungs to get oxygenated. So that's why in the blood we've got high pressure of carbon dioxide in the blood. We have a low partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the alveoli, because the alveoli is full of oxygen. Diffusion gradient, this is called a carbon dioxide diffusion gradient. Remember, we're talking about carbon dioxide. And then finally, diffusion, carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood to the alveoli, and then we breathe carbon dioxide out. Those are the notes I want you to get. If after your notes you can turn around, you can go back to a previous slide, the very first slide. So external respiration, and you can answer those questions. As I said, we are laughing, okay, that is what we need to know. So if you can get those down for me, please, and I'll see you in tomorrow's lesson. Thank you, bye.